Hey, it's beautiful. Happy, juicy Tuesday, South Africa. We are celebrating amazing Pride stories with the hashtag Pride Marathon. So welcome to another epic edition of Trending SA right here on SABC3. My name is Mo Flavor, and I'm still very happy to be rolling with this beautiful, juicy tender of being on the show this week. So thank you very much. I love it.
That's tender.
And helping me unpack the latest trends and stories is the ever so witty and talented Mable. Oh, Mable. No, Mable.
Mable needs to pee. I forgot to pee before the show. So if you see me at home bouncing like this, just know it's a good bird.
And of course, the incredible, beautiful, and delicious looking Refilo Mpakanyan. You look wonderful.
What it do, delicious?
I just got so shy.
What a peaches?
What's up, Mo?
All right.
Shall we do this?
Yeah.
Yes, let's do this. Let's check
get
out
into-
the top trends.
Pew, pew. All right, so earlier today, President Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa unveiled a 9-meter statue of the late ANC stalwart, Mr. Oliver Reginald Tambo. See, I know all of them by name and second name. The statue shows Tambo holding a book resembling the Freedom Charter. The statue is being revealed on the day that Mr. Tambo would have turned 103 years old. So the presidency tweeted about the unveiling last night, and the tweeps were not happy about the unveiling of yet another statue. This is what Utabo had to say. Oh, good. I was worried the money would be spent on infrastructure, transportation, or fixing dysfunctional municipalities, or to get rid of pit latrines at schools. Close call. Hashtag almost. And
Can we just develop a sarcasm font? Please, guys, please. It's so necessary.
And then ICT weighed in by saying, but we are still in a pandemic, or the statue will have a mask too. Guys, for me, I feel Uti Abantu are going hard at President Matamela. They could have laid by this statue. But do you guys feel Uti they were tone deaf by unveiling it now? Because I feel like they could have bought it like maybe in 2016 and then by Kokela Kancane, get higher patches and then until now.
You know what I learned during lockdown is that the government has got tentacles and the power and the strength to do many things at the same time. So we can erect beautiful statues and still take care of our people at the same time.
Speaking of taking care of people, I know that I once went to an event at the OR Tambo Cultural Precinct on the East Rand in Wattville. My family lives there. I've spoken to many people about that cultural precinct. They have never experienced it. They've never enjoyed the benefit of that museum, which is historical and amazing, or the benefit of those artist studios where they could be doing pottery and firing up, their work in kilns. All I'm saying is we don't need endless monuments to our history and historical figures. Can we make all of these things accessible and useful to the community living right there around it? Nobody knows about that precinct even now. So let's start with that before we start erecting new things. Yes, we can walk and chew gum at the same time, but guys, let's just rein it back, especially now during the global pandemic.
I still think higher patches. I'm giving them the president of the...
I'm looking forward to driving past that statue with the kids and them asking me, who's that? Because then it will be worth it.
Yeah. A nice little history lesson right there in the car. Okay,
exactly. Well, let's talk about this one. DJ, producer, hitmaker Maphorisa has been on my timeline non-stop for the last 48 hours. I mean, I can't keep up. So it is alleged that he's dating a 19-year-old girl, and it all started when @Sion.bougie tweeted this. Biggest betrayer, she with every man in Joburg. Followed by a screen grab WhatsApp, a chat, right, that quickly started making the rounds on the timeline. I mean, take a look at that.
All right, so you're coming with Maphorisa?
Yes.
Oh, yo, W2F, Beverly.
Yes.
You on your way?
Going to his place first.
He called you all.
We've been seeing each other, girl.
Beverly, we're literally friends, bruh. W2F, it's okay, I understand.
Ne?
I understand, ne? I'll see you there, ne? I'll come, ne?
There's no room for you guys anywhere. Anywhere, really. Can't take you guys anywhere. But look, it seems as if the two girls who were said to be 18 and 19 were both involved with Upori. And DJs can do things at the same time.
We don't know.
So it's no longer the...
No, we can.
So it's no longer the ones and twos, it's the 18s and 19s.
I mean, here's a tweet from @Godfather Eddie saying, so 19-year-olds are old enough to vote and determine the fate of the country. They're old enough to join the army and die for country, but they're too young to date Maporisa. #Maporisa. What is this? While another tweet from V Sobudula had this to say, 3 challenges in South Africa: morals, ethics, and patriarchy. #Maporisa.
Sure, this is a tough one. And in the same breath, let me just take it there. The next trend, #Kaya, was all over the timeline today because the TV personality is allegedly dating J Molly, who's 22 and she's 32, 10-year age gap. But the IG, they took to Instagram and they had an IG live. Basically, they were showing each other love. That got Twitter in a frenzy because they then drew comparisons between Ukanya dating a much younger person in the same way that Maporisa was being criticized, right, on Twitter. So I guess when it comes to dating, the question we're asking is, do we have double standards about what is acceptable and what is, standing on the borderline of being unethical as well? Do we have double standards?
Hey, Mina, all I'm saying is that we need to allow young people to date who they want to date. Because if we are looking at Maporisa, these girls went through Nasty C, they went through More Flavor, they went through everyone, they bypassed all of those people to get to Maporisa, meaning the destination was always destination Maduman.
You know why? Because he is like their idol. I mean, they're the target market. The music that he makes, they love that music. So for them, they see this icon, Pori. They don't even call him Uncle Pori.
You know what? I understand the furor around Pori dating younger women, 18, 19 year olds. Think of yourself at the age of 32, the kind of conversations you're having at that age versus the conversations you're having as an 18-year-old, 19-year-old who's worried about studies, data, and school, right? I do think it's problematic. It lends itself to the abuse of those power dynamics. And he's not just a guy in jail on the corner of the street. He is a cultural gatekeeper. He can make your career in
but
entertainment
who said
and
these
music
girls want to
what you
record a piano album?
Maybe they should.
I'm saying I
and maybe
understand
that's
people's
the plan.
worries. I'm not saying he shouldn't be allowed to do so. As that first tweet said, they can fight for country, they can vote, they can decide the fate of a nation.
Do not problematic, Rufino.
All I'm saying
the fact that we are having this conversation, we've forgotten that Ukanya and J Molly are together. So it's allowed to go to J Molly must upgrade up, but these girls can't upgrade up.
All I'm saying is power dynamics, it's a problem.
No, Kanye has
it's
power
probably going to end in tears. All I got to say is we will be here to help you pick up the pieces because Gunzima, but you got to go through it to get through it.
Those girls are entitled to tears as well. Yeah.
Listen, the thing is, we can find love in the young and the old, and that's what this whole story is teaching us.
Yeah.
And who are we to determine where people find love?
Yes.
If I'm 32 and I find it in a 22-year-old, so be it.
I hear a smile in your voice, and I don't think he really believes what you're saying. But anyway,
we'll just ignore the 10-year age gap. You know what I'm saying?
Stay tuned. After the break, we're exploring the culture of intersection amongst millennials with Dr. Melusi. You don't want to miss that. It's going to be a goodie. Stay with us.
Take it away, delicious.
Yeah.
You're evil, my bear. You're the worst. Welcome back to your home of the latest hashtags. You're still watching Trending SA right here on SABC3. You can follow the conversation with the hashtag #on3. Today we delve into the culture of intersection amongst millennials, and helping us unpack this topic is a medical practitioner who focuses on obstetrics and gynecology. He's a clinical director at Marie Stopes, South Africa. He is a speaker, an activist, and sex and reproductive health consultant. I'm talking about the one and only Dr. Melusi. Dhlamini, welcome to Trending SA.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for making the time. We're having some really important conversations this week, so I'm glad you're here. Let's talk about the fact that millennials have amplified the culture of intersection, right? How they approach romantic relationships. Those are dynamics that are not off limits for anybody. And contrary to previous generations, we have unconventional views on relationships. And to a larger extent, we've also normalized just, the culture of cheating and philandering, and I'm sure we'll get into the meat of that, right? All those things have become so much less taboo. We're open about them. So let's get into the idea of, or start to unpack what is fueling, this approach amongst millennials.
I think we have come to accept that sexuality is very, it's varied, and before now, sexuality was prescribed, that you will date a girl and there'll be one girl and you'll get married to them.
Sure.
But now people can get into polyamorous relationships and it's acceptable. So I think that shift is kind of changing things for us.
And I love that you've brought that up, but what about the idea that we also normalize cheating, right? It's less taboo and we just, okay, so-and-so is doing this, ain't no thing, you do you, boo, and tina sotula sibuke nje.
Do you know what's problematic? What's problematic is that I see it on social media whenever we introduce the idea of a couple that's found, philandering or cheating, is we always assume that everybody is monogamous. And nobody ever asks, we see people cheating and whatever, to ask, are you guys monogamous? And some people don't want to, before you jump into they're philandering. And some people don't want to go out there and say, look, I'm in an open relationship, I'm in a polyamorous relationship. But everybody is now forced to go and declare, because now everybody is calling you a cheater and a philanderer. So I think the first question that we should ask ourselves when we see a cheating scandal, are these people monogamous?
And also, who sets these norms and these standards? Is it about the understanding between the couple to say, well, we know what's going on between the two of us, we're not interested in what the world has to say, or is it about trying to conform to what the world has to say?
Sure.
I mean, the natural desire, and this is the other thing, the natural desire for variety and having options, coupled, of course, with this idea of exploring for sexual liberation and experimenting amongst millennials, has created an environment which promotes the rise of these hookup cultures that we're seeing, where we all think we can be with anybody, everybody, anywhere, anytime, at the same time. I mean, take a look at this video, for example.
Before we discuss your first trimester blood test results, Mandisa. It's not only about who you have slept with. What is important is, do you know who your previous lovers are?
That video ends on such an interesting note, Doctor. We are very woke about, the lingo and the words around different sets of relationships and how we configure those. Are we as woke about our sexual and reproductive health as we should be, as opposed to the freedoms that we enjoy?
No, what I actually realized this past weekend is that people don't have...
this past weekend.
we were talking about something
there was a foul involved.
There was something happening. And my problem is that people don't actually have the same knowledge as they have with their sexuality. The information that, that matches whatever is happening, you're sexually liberated, but you know what comes with sexual liberation.
So what's interesting is and you talk about what's been happening on the weekend, over the weekend. It was very dramatic. We all saw the video that made the rounds on social media of Katlego Mabue and his wife Monique taking a video of him confronting him about his cheating and alluding to the fact that, saying that he'd exposed her to an STI, and she said it's eating at her womb or at her uterus, and she might not be able to conceive again. And not to delve into her personal matters, but to the point of even understanding what this might be, everyone was just agog, and just everyone is agog, but we don't even know what could possibly be in the range or category of things she's talking about. So what in the world could be affecting your chances of falling pregnant again once you've been exposed to it?
And what took me aback was the lack of information about that infertility and cancer link between the STIs. But most of your STIs, when they affect your reproductive system, they could actually lead to infertility. Most of them will. If they aren't treated, and it's literally just the way they heal, they form scarring of your fallopian tubes.
There we go. There we go. So it wasn't necessarily a worst case scenario, and because people's imaginations ran wild.
And one of the other things, Doc, is that we live our lives like it's golden, and we often don't check what's going on with our bodies. And we have these silent STIs that are bubbling under, loading. I mean, what do we need to do to make sure that we check ourselves? I mean, if we know what our behavior is like, surely we need to be able to take some sort of measure in preventing something from happening by actually finding out what's going on with us.
Yeah, most of your STIs are sexually transmitted, obviously. So it's skin-to-skin contact and doesn't have to be penetrative sex.
Sure.
And they could literally affect all the way from the mouth to the anus. So what you need to do if you are engaging in unprotected sex is actually to take care of the sexual health. You can have your blood test done. You can have most of your STIs would be very silent. They wouldn't have any symptoms, but you are having unprotected sex, and you're probably getting as many STIs as you are when you are having sex with different partners who are possibly also having sex with other partners. So we have this pool of STIs that we're literally sharing amongst ourselves.
And that's the thing.
Melusi, let's say I'm a DJ or I am a producer of music, ne? And I've got many partners, you know, and I want to protect myself. What do I do? Let's say I'm a DJ or a rapper, or or a TV presenter. What do I do?
Wear a condom if you're gonna have sex. There are other things that if you're gonna use your mouth or your hands, you can wear gloves. If you're gonna be fisting people, if you're gonna be putting your fingers in orifices,
maybe even disclosure with your partners.
Yeah. Then there are these things that people actually don't know, dental dams. They're very, very good, and they will protect you if you want to use your mouth, to have fun.
Yeah. All right.
What can you get by the mouth?
You can literally get a cancer in your mouth.
Sure.
All right.
Nizwile about DJ. Nizwile.
And we're going to leave it there on that very educational note. But really, guys, let's just be real with each other and about ourselves, about our behavior, and the responsibility that it all carries. Fundamentally, that's it, right? Thank you so much for your time this evening, Dr. Dhlamini. Really appreciate it. And thank you for sharing your time with us. Remember, we continue celebrating Zab Pride Marathon. That's the hashtag. Give us your stories. And of course, after the break, we are going to be talking to a wonderfully talented, multidisciplinary, non-gender conforming queer artist, Kieron, Jina. See you after this.
Welcome back. You're still watching Trending SA right here on SABC3, where the stage is yours.
Yeah, and after all those jabs that I received off air, I'm glad that I'm still alive.
It's just called friendly fire, Mo. It's all right.
Friendly fire. Got to take one for the team. Now, our guest tonight is a multi-dimensional artist who has fused elements of choreography, video, art installation and performances to disrupt the traditional understandings of gender performativity, sexuality and identity. And of course, with a keen interest in shaping and shifting the queer narrative and representation, Kieron's work has the ability to spark conversation. I'm talking about the award-winning Kieron Jina. Good evening.
Hello, and thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. I mean, you've been named as one of the queer warriors for 2020 by a leading publication which celebrates the stories of LGBTIQ plus communities across the continent. I mean, what does this sort of visibility and this recognition mean to you in what you do?
I mean, for me, as a queer person, it means that we are finally being recognized in mainstream media, and also for acknowledging all those that are doing the work out there in Africa and celebrating us and the work that we are doing.
Yeah.
So you are interested in the challenges and complexities of the transitional millennium generation, right? That's a lot to say. It's quite a mouthful. So what are you learning about being black, queer, and an artist in South Africa?
Well, I'm learning a lot. I think more about less control, more trusting, attentive listening to each other. I'm learning a lot about the complex nature of our history and our past and how we develop and take it forward, using the possibilities of our identity and shifting our narrative. That's the most important part about it.
So Kieron, obviously you are this multidisciplinary artist, and what I like about what you've just said is you can create a text. You're not in control of how it's read. What are the conversations, or how it's read and received, understood? What are the conversations you are hoping to spark through your work?
Well, I'm hoping to spark an interrogation of our prejudices. We have learned certain ways of being from our generation before us, and if we can start challenging that through art and the means of art, I think we'll have much more of an accepting, inclusive, and diverse population.
Oh, that's quite interesting. So you continue to integrate the representation of queer bodies and articulations of femme identities in public with your project Femme in Public and Queer Art. Why is it important for you to create safer spaces for queer people?
Well, I think not only for queer people, but also considering the fact that we're also going through a lot of GBV in this country, and we need to start activating spaces. A collective of us from New York, South Africa, all took the streets of Cape Town in #FemInPublic, and we started to create a fashion presence, but also to interrogate the way our bodies are seen in public spaces, and to take ownership and empower ourselves in these spaces. And I think it's an important factor of how we reclaim our purpose, not only as queer people, but also challenge the ways in which our bodies are victimized by putting them more out there and saying, we're here and we're going to stay, and we don't need to apologize.
You can't look away. We're not going to disappear. We're not disappearing. We're not going away.
No.
Yeah.
But how does art generate empathy through, harnessing certain intimacies and vulnerabilities?
I think when we think about our personal stories and we really interrogate how our narratives are so important as well, in Africa as well, there lies some listening, and attentive self-listening is the possibility of advancing our ways of bringing in vulnerability and a collective thinking tank as opposed to a judging tank.
Okay. Yeah? But how do we begin to shift this gaze and create a positive affirmation for queer bodies, especially in pop culture?
I think there's a lot to be said there, but most importantly, I think be authentic. And in that authenticity, people will appreciate you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So simple, right? We asked you to solve the problems of the world. And you just gave us a very simple mantra. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, but we don't have time to delve into everything else. We will continue the conversation, though, on Trending Off Air. So you stay right there. This continues on the socials, yeah?
Absolutely, and that's pretty much how we wrap the show. My goodness, it's a wrap as far as another installment of Trending SA is concerned. And in light of the hashtag Katlego Must Rise, tomorrow we're going to be asking, should celebrities' personal lives affect their paychecks, right? Should it affect the bag? And helping us to unpack this very interesting topic is celebrity manager and PR specialist. Her name is Sibu Mabena. So you do not want to miss out on that conversation. It's one of the hot topics flowing right now. See you at 6 p.m. right here on SABC3. Good night, everybody.